Hey guys, welcome back to doremicom channel. I'm here with the Class 24, that direction, and maybe you're wondering why. Well, I asked a couple videos back for people to submit in order to be in a particular RTD. It wasn't really like an open forum RTD looking for a new member, but rather we had a specific RTD that we were going to create. It had a certain set of questions based on a lot of things I asked you guys to respond to. The winner of that was the Class 24. Unfortunately, some of the other panel members that I needed to be in that video I can't find their MIA, and I'm concerned that they might be dealing with some family issues or whatnot. So, talked with Scott, who is the Class 24, and he's agreed to kind of jump in with me real quick to do a quick random gibberish.
Yes, random gibberish time.
So all you guys out there looking to listen to something while you're sitting around painting miniatures, we got you covered. First thing we're going to talk about, and then we're going to let the topics just roll right off, is the game Zombies, which happened to be in the background of one of my most recent videos, and it is right there. First, Scott, how have you played the game a lot?
Zombies?
Yeah.
Actually, I was playing a role-playing game where Zombies was introduced to me, and I had a blast. So I would say that was 4 years ago. So about 4 years.
Okay,
I've known about the game for 4 years.
So just generally speaking, Zombies as a game, would you play it over playing any other tabletop strategy role-playing game, or is it like, yeah, I just leave it up on my shelf so when people come over they can see that I don't that I'm cool because I got that on my shelf?
Well, it's kind of a toss-up because, I mean, most tabletop games take a really long time to set up.
Right.
Zombies in general has pretty easy rules, pretty easy dice rolls to remember, and a really quick cleanup and a quick deployment. So it's, you put it down, you get some dudes, you shoot some zombies, try to survive, and you win or die.
I got to tell you guys, I played Zombies a handful of times. Love the game, own it. For those of you guys who are interested in Zombies, I got to tell you this one key thing. For your first game, make sure you have at least 4 players. 2-player game Zombies, I don't know if you feel this way, Scott, but I think they suck.
They take a little bit longer. There's a lot more strategy when you have 4 players, so it is a little bit more fun with more people.
There's nothing like the rush of playing down that card where effectively you force one of your opponents to move through the zombies and deal with the horde in front of you.
And I suggest if you get it, and if you're into like things like Magic the Gathering or any kind of trading card game, definitely pick up the blank card ones and make your own. You can't see that, too much glare. Put it on the angle there. Make your own, and
nice.
It adds the spice, and it lets people like add their own little flavor, and it lets them be a part of the game. This one is it's that room you shouldn't have entered, but you did.
Nice.
And place 10 zombies around one player the best you can. You can even place 1 zombie on that player as well. So adding a little spice to your own games like Zombies is really fun too. So
honestly, I got to tell you, I really wish there was a card made that said, your shoes are untied, and basically made them take a step back to tie their shoes and ended their turn.
Yeah. I have some other cool stuff too. So it's not dead. So if you're if zombie, people pick up certain games because they're like, zombies, I love zombies, and you'll pick it up, something like that. Other games like Munchkins, which is towards making fun of, but playing along the lines of D&D, vampire games, werewolf games, games like that. And it's a card game. So it's kind of the same mentality as Zombies. The more people you have, the more fun it is because there's a lot going on. And you can mess each other up, you can help each other, and it makes it really really crazy. Unpredictable.
I find the games like Munchkin and Zombies are really good when you got some guys who might not want to sit down and learn a whole huge rule set.
Girls.
What? Or girls. Yeah, I got to tell you, at one of my local gaming stores, they have like a kind of like a board game night. They break out these games, and it's pretty wild. And the sexes are fairly evenly matched. I mean, it's like probably 40% females, 60% guys. Which is huge. I mean, one of the comments on one of the posts from a previous RTD was that what will make a successful tabletop strategy game is if you can get the ladies involved, and I kind of agree with that to a little degree.
That kind of skews off the board game here back to a tabletop version of a board game like Vampire and all those type of things. Why it is successful is because it gears it towards females as well. Because as it's written, it doesn't say if he does, or it doesn't use the masculine term. It also uses the female terms as she does this, she does that. And it's very geared towards like trying to get both of them in there. And you do see a lot of role-playing games like D&D and stuff like that, including a lot of females, because they can get really competitive.
No, I absolutely agree, and I can't help but think that games like Vampire the Masquerade and whatnot probably benefit dramatically from the Twilight series, quite honestly. As totally and absolutely unrelated as those two things are, it's like, oh, I can now relate to this, whatever, and all of a sudden, boom, females show up.
But like most games that you see right off the shelves, it's kind of hard to gear it towards women out the gate, because they're not. Most women aren't geared towards, like, I mean, it's in our genes. Guys want to go beat stuff up, and so when they see like guys in chainsaws and shotguns, that really doesn't appeal to women straight up.
So I got a weird question for you. Starting, I think, with Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, maybe even 3.0, but 3.5 and later, and definitely in Pathfinder and 4.0, there definitely was far more artwork, which would imply that female characters were being played in the game. Do you think that was more for dudes who wanted to play chicks in the game, or was it actually beneficial for trying to get ladies into the game? I honestly don't know the answer there.
I'd say both. That's a toss-up. I mean, I don't necessarily think art brings in the ladies or anything like that.
Really?
Or, no, not at all. I mean, half the time whenever I get a book, like when I got the War Machine book, I didn't even read the rules when I opened it up. I looked at all the art. The art is fantastic in that book. And same with like 40K and stuff like that. But, War Machine like is color throughout. So it's awesome. And, I mean, I'm a guy. So, I look at all the art, and the art was awesome before I even read the rules. So
and your assumption is that women don't do that?
No, kind of. I don't think it that does do that. But I think women would tend to look at pictures more than they would if they saw it straight. If you're like, here, read, learn this, I think they would probably just look at the pictures and be like, what is this game about? Oh, here's some knives, here's some, blah, blah, blah. Then, it's probably not for me. But if they see maybe more of that, like, two people talking, and that suggests role play, and not I'm going to be smashed up every game and have to roll dice every game, I think that might gear it towards it, but I don't think it necessarily contributes to it.
Okay, so before we continue with this random gibberish, I believe I have, according to the YouTube statistics meister, 8% of my subscriber base is female. If you guys are females, leave comments, because I'd love to get your take on what we're saying here. I'm actually going to argue that I think the ladies definitely do look at the artwork. Hey, I'm playing this game, and maybe you have this girlfriend who's on the fringe, doesn't know if she's going to play or not, picks up the book, is not going to go to turn to page 1, start reading through, the table of contents, flip the page. She's going to be checking out to see, the artwork. I mean, I kind of think that, with miniatures, you're dealing with the how good the miniatures look when you're dealing with RPGs, for instance. It's going to be the artwork. It's only when you kind of move away from that into board games or you're dealing with like the Munchkin-esque games, and it's just so animated and alive that the rule system is actually built into the artwork that the focus won't be solely on the artwork from point one. But I don't know. Ladies, let us know. Okay, we kind of started off this conversation about board games and games that were kind of prepackaged, right? So zombies, it's something where like you go out, you spend $30, $35, you pick up the game, you're done spending money on it, the game's complete. Yeah, there are, sequels, and people can argue that all left and right. But from the standpoint of what you need to play the game, $35 expense, nothing else. Munchkin, same way. Yes, there are expansions, but from the standpoint of I wanted to start playing the game, it's one set fee. What's your take on how that impacts games that are collectible or hobby related?
I don't think.
Do they have an impact?
I don't think it does. I don't think it has an impact. I think, you got Monopoly, you got other games. They're still out there. These brands are still out there. I'm sure they probably are owned by other companies, so that's why they're still alive. But,
Wizards of the Coast buying everyone out.
They still print like those other brands, and you still have the other competitive collectible card games out there as well. I just think that those collectible card games or games in general that are collectible or tradable do a little bit more, because you can do that every month or every few months, the expansion, which almost nullifies half the rules that you've already learned. But
right.
People will still do it because they love it, and that's cool. Play your game, have fun with it, and if that's your bag, then that's your bag. And I think those still do well.
Collectible games still do well regardless of the existence of board games, or board games still do well because regardless of the existence of the other?
I think they're both fine. They both.
You don't think one impacts the other at all? I'm just curious.
It might pull from the crowd, but they might start drawing interest to other games that can continue and stack on, like expansions, additions, and stuff like that. It depends on the person and the player. A gamer is a gamer. A gamer will play any game. And I play a game is a person that will pick up and play a game. Tiddlywinks, yeah. A gamer's they have that competitive edge and will love to play any game where they can have fun and continue the process with another person. And someone that plays a game will be okay with sitting down and play a game once or twice. So right. I play a game, and there are gamers.
See, I have companies like Avalon Hill who used to literally, my dad, who was a big buff with Risk and those kind of high strategy, but yet limited in the sense that you're not dealing with a whole tabletop, you're dealing with a board space. So you weren't dealing necessarily with, individual powers and attacks. It was really much more a strategy of how to deal with bringing in troops and a massive
like a numbers game.
Right. Very mathematically minded. So Avalon Hill created a whole series of games, right, that would sit on a bookshelf. You'd kind of pull it out. There'd be boards there and that you'd break open to have your board game and the pieces and everything like that. And to a large extent, way before companies like Games Workshop came into a certain level of popularity, where TSR was really the only big name that was well publicized. Avalon Hill was creating all these games that would just fly off the shelves, right? And it's kind of interesting to me because I see games like Axis and Allies, and I see games like Risk and these types of games being almost a gateway to getting into far more advanced games. At the same time, I also see it as a slight detraction because when you when you're sitting down and you're deciding, okay, I'm going to spend all this crazy money on some sort of collectible game, that people will gravitate to something where they can pick up, play with their buddy who doesn't want to spend that kind of money. They themselves are kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to spend that money, and they'll be content with whatever that game is. We have another game that is based off the 4th edition D&D rule set called Gamma World, and it's not truly a board game, but it's a prepackaged game. All the rules are contained in this one box where you kind of break it open, and everything's there for you to play this futuristic science fiction / fantasy game. And I'm always curious when you have local gaming stores that kind of put those kind of games next to your Hordes, your War Machine, your 40K, your Fantasy, Malifaux, whatever, these collectible games, and seeing how they interact. It seems to me that the collectible games sell better, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm getting the whole picture, right? Because again, it might just be you have, if you have 10 people who play board games and 10 people who play collectible games, and those 10 people come back to keep buying new collectible pieces, is that really an indication of popularity one over the other?
I don't think so. I think one, it might just be them stocking it the way they have to stock it. Maybe this genre next to this genre. Maybe the company is telling them, we need to push this item, and it's kind of like this item, so we want to try to get people to buy our item. So they put this next to, let's say, Magic, if it's like Magic. And so people might go, I'll get this game, and they might be with someone else. So they might just go, like looking at it and be like, oh, this is new, or like, I haven't seen this before. That's because the company didn't put it next to it in the beginning. So maybe they just saw it and they're like, well, what's this? I think that's just kind of like an advertisement type deal, or a PR type move. So
let's talk specifically about GW. Okay.
Okay.
This is if you go to a GW store, 95% of the space is taken up with their collectible area, right? And 5% of their merchandising might be set aside for packaged games, okay? When they come out with limited edition things like Space Hulk or, okay. I can't help but wonder, and I really don't know the answer, and I don't think anyone truly does, but I can't help but wonder if one of the many reasons why Space Hulk was in a limited run was because GW was concerned that it would actually stop the small trickle of people who come into GW stores unaware of tabletop strategy in general and go, I could go and play this 40K game and it's going to cost me X, let's say $350 to $500 to get a starter army up. Or I can spend, $95 and pick up Space Hulk and get the zest of the universe, of the fluff, of everything that's involved without making the huge investment commitment. And I don't really know if that was their reason to limit how long they were going to be producing this game, or the supply, or whatever. But thoughts? I'm passing you the mic.
Okay. I will have to say, I don't think they were afraid of that. I had plenty of discussions going back, trying to find actual people that had played the specialty games being like Battlefleet, Gothic, Gorka Morka, Necromunda, Space Hulk, stuff like that. All those, Blood Bowl is awesome too. Trying to find those people, it's very rare, but when they say they play it, they are hardcore about it. They're like, oh, I love this, I can't believe it's gone, stuff like that. But it was something like, it was a here and now type thing, and I don't think Games Workshop had anything to fear of any of those games trying to steal away from them, getting more money from building an army, let's say, because of the fact that it was a specialty game. And anyone will say, it's because it was a specialty game. And what does that mean? It means it was fun and awesome, but, just not that great. Not their whole fan base just didn't pick it up. It was one of those one-hit wonders.
I can't dispute the fact that the recent release of Space Hulk was not super great. It definitely lacked a lot. It definitely left you in a situation where pretty much as the Space Marine player, there were certain strategies that you could basically apply and have it work for you 9 out of 10 times. That being said, the original Space Hulk, which is actually my very first experience with any 40K thing related whatsoever. I played the Space Hulk game at a local GW store, which was in Fair City Mall. I don't know if you remember that GW store.
I never went, but I remember.
We have similar stomping grounds. That they had it out, and it was a very, very kind of interesting experience. But then again, Rogue Trade wasn't out for very long, or Rogue Trader wasn't out for very long, so there wasn't a whole lot to compare it to, right? You noticed right away, though, was that with that first couple releases of Space Hulk, they kept it in stock for years. I mean, it wasn't just hey, we're doing this for Christmas, hope you get it. It was, around for years, and at a much smaller price point, so you kind of hooked people really quick.